How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be doing a solo Nex guide, and it's going to be for beginners. If you are beginner to Nex and you don't have the absolute best in slot gear, this will still get you through, will still get you kills, and we're going to break it down in a way that should be really easy for you guys to understand. Take it step by step, take it phase by phase, and honestly, by the end of it, you should probably find it a lot more easy, be a lot more confident to get through a solo kill at Nex. In this video, I will be using low-end gear so that you guys can probably outgear me very easily. I am not using backcriminal bolts. I will be using shadow glaives. I will not be using any perks on my armor, so I'll have full pernix. I will not have anything like fleeting boots. I am only using the tier 95 curse. I will not be using my tier 99 curse, so I am bringing myself down quite a lot from DPS and gear wise, as I want to be able to show you guys that even with shadow glaives and pernix, without any perks and all that stuff, you can solo Nex if you want to. Of course, it will take practice. A lot of the stuff that I am doing in this video will be stuff that I have practiced over time, so it will help me out a lot being in lower gear, but you guys can pick this stuff up and you guys can definitely get into this. So I hope this video does help you out. If you have any questions, guys, comments, just fire the comments out. Even if you think you have a question that seems really silly and pointless, just comment it below. I promise you I will do my absolute best to reply, and there is no silly questions. It's absolutely fine. If you have any questions at all, even get in Discord and send me a DM. I do not mind. If you want to blow up my Discord and ask me questions, hundreds of questions, absolutely not a problem. But from that note, if you enjoy the video, if it helps you out, if you get through and do get a kill, make sure to leave a like on the video. And if you are new to the channel and this is a guide that does help you out, then do subscribe as well, as I will probably make more videos on stuff like this in the future as I get to a point at certain bosses where I can do so. Anyway, let's get into this. Let's start off with the gear, as before you even want to start the fight, you are going to want to be geared for it. So let's go ahead and start with that. So before we get into gear, I want to actually talk about the levels that I would recommend you guys have before you start soloing Nex. You're going to want to be doing this in range. Range is always the best way to kill Nex, as you can reset each kill and it will force her not to use protect from range every single time you enter that instance. So each time you get a kill, you're going to want to teleport back to wards and then reset, and basically you'll be able to go in with full adrenaline and she will never use protect from range, making the fight a hell of a lot easier. You're going to want to probably have at least 90 range for this. This doesn't mean you have to have a level 90 weapon, of course, which you will see that I am using shadow glaives, which are only level 85. However, if you are using anything less than a crossbow that can fire backcriminal bolts, I highly recommend using nothing less than shadow glaives. These have tier 90 accuracy, and accuracy at Nex is incredibly important, but we'll get into that when we talk about the gear. I would also highly recommend level 87 summoning. This is going to be so you can summon a shadow nihil. Now you may be thinking, I can't do Nex without yak. I'm going to need to use a yak. I need all the extra food. Now, believe me, you do not need the extra food. You need the extra accuracy. You will splash like crazy at Nex if you do not have accuracy. The nihil will give you an extra 5% ranged accuracy, and while you might be thinking 5%, trust me, it all adds up and it's really useful. I would absolutely highly recommend using a nihil even when learning, just because the extra damage that you're going to be doing will end the fight quicker. You'll see once we get to the end of the kill that I actually have most of my food left. Of course, you learning will probably use a little bit more, but trust me, you won't need the full inventory of food. You'll be absolutely fine. Next up, I would recommend having 95 prayer. Now, 95 is quite a high level to get, so you may be able to do this with less, but the extra accuracy you're going to get from using anguish in the curses will be absolutely helpful. You definitely want to have that if you can. Like I say, you could possibly try it without that, but I would highly suggest having this if you can. Other than that, you're basically just going to need the required levels to get into the next room. If you are wondering what skills are the absolute minimum to get into the next room, you need at least level 70 range, strength, agility, and constitution. This will allow you to get all the pieces for the frozen key, which will then allow you to get into Nex's room. Alright, so moving on to gear. Basically, you want to have more than what I have here. If you have anything better than what I have here, then you're okay. But to quickly go over it, I have shadow glaives, I have full pernix, which has no perks on it whatsoever, and I'm using a Saradomin Godbook. I'm using the Essence of Finality, but if you have a Reaper necklace, bring that instead for the accuracy, and basically any skill cape or max cape or whatever cape you do have. Ideally, I would suggest that you upgrade the shadow glaives into a crossbow that can use backcriminal bolts, so the Weaver and crossbow or Ascensions, which will be absolutely fine. Using the Ruby backcriminal bolts E, you can hit up to 12k, so that helps a hell of a lot during blood phase, and then once you get into ice phase, you want to use the diamond backcriminal bolts E for the rest of the kill. Like I said, I'm not using any perks, so don't worry about those too much. Obviously, if you've got perks, then it's going to help you out a lot, but I'm doing this without perks so you can see that even without them, you can still do it. For the inventory, I have an overload, I have a super prayer renewal. Get those. You don't have to use the elder overloads, but do bring a overload of some sort. You're going to want to have a adrenaline potion, a anti-poison of some sort to remove the anti-poison from phase 1, one super restore flask, a shield. I cannot stress enough how important a shield is. Make sure you've got one of those. Bring along a vitality potion, which you can buy off the Grand Exchange. This is for the ice phase. And then also if you have things like Excalibur, if you have a Ring of Vigor, then make sure to bring those as well. Also bring along some vulnerability bombs. This will help you out a lot during blood phase, and you'll also use this for the beginning of the fight and also the beginning of the last phase as well. Other than that, just fill the rest of your inventory with food. I suggest bringing half Saradomin brews and half rocktails. You will not need all of them, but just bring them just in case when you're learning you may need that extra bit of food. Either way, both my inventory and my equip gear are here on screen for you this whole time, so just copy that and just go and upgrade wherever you can. Okay, so phase 1. The way we're going to do this is basically go in the way that it happens in the fight. We will talk about mechanics as they happen and we will go over them that way. It will make it a lot easier for you guys to understand and you'll be able to see what's happening as it is happening on the screen. Okay, so once you enter the arena, she is going to spawn in the middle of the room. On the outside of the room, there's going to be 4 minions in each corner. These basically represent each phase, and you're going to need to kill these off to move on to the next phase. However, these are not attackable until you get next to a certain amount of health, and then they become attackable, and you have to kill them before you move on to the next phase. But we'll talk about that once we get to that point. So as you're climbing into the room, next will probably start spawning. You're going to want to be protecting from magic straight away and make sure you have your anguish curse on, or better if you have access to it. Drink your overload, drink your super prayer renewal, and drink your anti-poison as well. If you drink it now, it just means that even if you do get poisoned, you don't have to panic about doing it later on. Make sure your god book is turned on and start making your way to the middle of the room where next is going to spawn. You will notice Nex has started calling out the names of the minions going clockwise around the room. She will do this for each individual minion, ending in Glacies, and then she will go back to the first one, which is Fumus. When she goes back to the first one, being Fumus, she will be starting the first phase. A good thing to do, which you do not have to do straight away while you're learning, is as she calls Glacies, use Devotion, and then as she calls Fumus, use Anticipate and throw a Vulnerability Bomb. This will just have you ready for the fight as soon as it starts. One thing to note for the first phase is throughout the fight, you need to be using Anticipate and you need to be using Freedom. This is because she has an ability that will pull you to her, dropping your prayer. You won't also be able to move and you won't be able to toggle your prayer back on for about a second or two. But to avoid this, all you need to do is use Anticipate when the fight starts, and then rotate between using Freedom and Anticipate. Once Freedom is ended, use Anticipate again. Once Anticipate is ended, then use Freedom. If you do get dragged and have access to Freedom still, use it straight away, and then as soon as you can, get your prayer back on. Alright, so you've used Anticipate, the fight has started. Next, just basically focus on DPS. She will start with 200,000 health. You want to get her down to 160,000, and then she will call out Fumus's name, and you need to go and kill Fumus. Once you've been DPSing for a little while, you will notice that she says above her head, "There is." Now, when she says this, you need to get out of the middle of the room. Just a quick note, if you have game sounds on, you will also hear her say this. So if you're too busy looking at all the other stuff and you're distracted and you miss this cue from the message above her head, turn your in-game sounds on and you will hear her say it, giving you the cue to get out of the middle. When she says this, she will appear on one of the 4 entrances to the middle of the room. She will then dash down that way, and if you are with her, then she will drag you with her, dropping your prayer and doing a lot of damage. However, like I said, if you are just not in that middle path, you're not in any of those 4 paths leading to the middle, then you're absolutely fine. As soon as she stops dashing and starts walking back towards you, you want to use Freedom or Anticipate, whichever one is ready, and then go back to doing DPS. Once you hit that 160,000 health, she will call out Fumus, "Don't fail me." You want to run over to Fumus and get him killed. Once he is dead, just target Nex again, use any ability that is not a threshold, and that will basically start you into phase 2. Okay, so let's move on to phase 2. We've got phase 1 out of the way, happy days. Okay, this phase is going to be a little bit awkward, but all in all, it's quite an easy phase to deal with. Depending when you phase her on phase 1, which doesn't matter too much, don't worry about it, you will notice that the first ability that she uses on phase 2 does actually change. During this phase, she will say, "Fear the shadow." If she starts with saying this, underneath your person, you will see a little shadow appear. As soon as she says this, just step to the side and you'll be absolutely fine. If you get caught in this, you can take a decent amount of damage. I believe it's about 4,000 damage. So definitely want to not be stood in this when she says that. As soon as you see or hear her say, "Fear the shadow," just step to the side, maybe 1 or 2 steps just to be safe, and then you'll be absolutely fine. When she says "Embrace darkness," your room will go slightly dark, but don't worry about that too much. The main thing you need to focus on is just when she says "Fear the shadow." Now, during this phase, you just want to be praying Protect from range. Eventually, when you get more confident, you can basically just use Soul Split, but for now, just use Protect from range. You'll be absolutely fine with that. So your goal here is to go from 160,000 down to 120,000. Once you hit 120,000 health, you need to run over to the next minion and kill him off as well. Now, this sounds really simple, and to be fair, it is. That's as simple as it is, except there's one thing that can screw you over. Because you are ranging, Nex will want to get up close and personal to you, and she will want to be in melee range. If she is in melee range during this phase, you will take a lot of typeless tick damage, and it will probably kill you unless you deal with it properly. There is two ways of doing this. One is very, very simple, but will slow down your kill and is really not needed. But if you struggle with the next bit, then I highly recommend you just do this. You can bring yourself a Malevolent Helm and Laceration Boots. If you bring those as a switch, you can put them on just before this phase starts, and she will not melee you. The way it works is you'll be reducing your range bonus, and she will not be coming into melee distance. However, if you do not use this, she will do that still, and you will need to kite her around the room. So in this video, you will see me kiting her around the room, as this is my preferred option, and I would recommend you just do this anyway. 1, it saves you more inventory space for food. 2, you can get through this phase fairly quickly anyway. And 3, it's less switches, and switches I just don't enjoy switches at all. So once the fight starts, if you are kiting around the room, what you want to do is put your bleeds on her and just start running. In all honesty, it doesn't matter which way you run, but just circle the room. While you're circling the room, fire off abilities at Nex, use your bleeds, use Snapshot. If you want, you can use Deadshot as well. This will definitely help out, especially if you're using Glaze like I am. But otherwise, if you have Backcriminal Bolts, then just fire off abilities, and as she chases you, just keep running. Now, sometimes it will look like she's falling behind. She is not falling behind. Her animation is lagging. When she uses a special attack, she is still following you. So when she stood still using things like Fear the Shadow, she is still chasing you down. Keep running, keep firing off abilities. Sometimes it will look like you've attacked her from halfway across the room. You have, but she's still very, very close. If she gets into your range, just use Surge along one of the long distances and then keep running. Don't look back, just keep running and keep firing abilities. This won't take very long to do. Once her health hits 120k, run over to the next minion, get it killed down, and then attack Nex again to get into the next phase. Now, that might sound like a lot of fun. When you're learning this, it may be a little bit stressful, but like I said, as long as you keep in mind the fact that if she gets close to you, you just use Surge or Bladed Dive to get away again and just keep running. And also, if she looks like she's stopped, just keep going, keep trying to fire her abilities. As long as your abilities are firing, it doesn't matter how far away she looks, she is still following you. And as soon as she finishes that special attack, she will suddenly start chasing you at super speed, but she won't catch you. However, if she does catch you and get to melee distance, just Surge, Bladed Dive, you'll be absolutely fine. The first method that I said, if you have the helm and the boots, if you put those on before the second phase starts, she won't chase you into melee distance. You can just focus on stepping out of the shadows and DPSing her down. Of course, you will take a little bit longer to kill her as you have reduced your stats, but it's not a big deal. If you want to do this, you can. I just prefer to do it the other way. Okay, so once you've done with that, you want to basically kill the minion off, start phase 3, the blood phase. This is where most of you will probably struggle during this fight, especially at the beginning, but don't worry, I have a way for you to get through this fairly easily. Okay, phase 3, the dreaded blood phase, the place where all of you will probably struggle at some point when you are learning. If not, then hey, you are absolutely awesome, but don't worry if you do struggle here. It's not a problem. We'll get you through it. You'll sort this out. Don't get stressed. Don't quit. We got this. Okay, as soon as you end phase 2, she is going to start something called a siphon. The way I'm going to do phase 3 is tell you how all the mechanics work, which is only a couple, and then we'll go back, look how I did it, and talk about what I did in the kill to make sure you get through this nice and easy. This section may take a little while, but I want to get you to understand how this works perfectly so you can get through it without the stress, and you can definitely know what you should be doing, and you can work out what you're doing wrong if you are already doing something wrong. Alright, so she will start a siphon as soon as you phase. You're going to want to use Protect from Magic during this phase and for the rest of the kill. So as you start phase 3, she will say, "Flood my lungs with blood." Then she will say, "A siphon will solve this." When she says a siphon will solve this, you want to stop attacking her. Do not attack her at all. You will notice that she will glow, and you'll notice that she brings her wings all the way down inside of her, and she will then stretch them back out towards when they reach to the top. If you attack her while she is doing a siphon, you will heal her instead of doing damage. Now, she can heal past 120k, so you do not want to do this, as if you do, it will make your phase a lot harder. You'll notice that I actually healed her with this, but that's fine because it just shows that even if you do hit her once or twice, it's not the end of the world. Okay, so what you can do while she's doing a siphon is throw a vulnerability bomb underneath her. Just make sure you right click and press throw. That way you don't accidentally target her and start attacking her. Another thing you can do, but isn't absolutely necessary, is when her wings just about reach the top, you can start charging Snipe. If you use Snipe, it has a delayed attack, and just as soon as it fires off, she will finish her siphon, and you can get a nice strong hit straight away. You'll see me doing this, but if you can't seem to get the timing on this right straight away, don't panic. You can practice this later on once you're used to the timing. Just focus on doing DPS as soon as the siphon ends. You'll also notice around the room that she will spawn 2 Blood Reavers. Now, these are kind of ignorable. You don't need to do anything with them really, but if you're really struggling to get enough DPS down, then you're going to want to start putting your bleeds on these before the siphon ends each time. Any remaining health these have when she goes to her next siphon, she will take their health and put it back to her own. But we are hoping that you can probably get through this in 1 cycle. If you can't, don't worry, you can do 2, it's not a problem, and you don't always have to kill these to be able to do a 2 siphon. But if you find that you are really struggling with blood phase, just put a couple of bleeds on these just to make sure that they don't have full health when she does her next siphon. Speaking of bleeds, do not use bleeds on the blood phase on Nex. If you put a bleed on Nex during the blood phase at any point whatsoever, that is fragmentation shot, corruption shot. Do not use them. It will heal her instead of doing damage. So I'm sorry for all you Revolution lovers. You're probably going to have some struggle here. You'll probably have to either have a second action bar or put your bleeds at the end of the action bar, not inside the Revolution bit, and manually use them for the whole fight, and then don't use them at all during the blood phase. Once you've done a fair bit of DPS after the siphon, she will say, I demand a blood sacrifice. Your character will turn red, and basically you just want to get the hell away from Nex. The way this works is, if you don't get out of her range, you will take a hit for around about 1000 damage, and it will heal her for a fair amount of health. You don't want this to happen, or else you will really struggle to meet the damage to get into the next phase. What you want to do here is when you start the fight with Nex, you want to line up in a way that you can press escape or surge and get away from her nice and easy. As long as when you turn red, you use escape or you use surge, you'll be absolutely fine. Make sure that doesn't trigger on you, and then as soon as your character is no longer red, you can run back into it and start doing more DPS. The next ability she will use is another siphon, and then it just basically rotates through that. Siphon, blood sacrifice, siphon, blood sacrifice until you phase. Ideally, you're going to want to get a 1 cycle, which basically means you will get the siphon first, and then you will do as much damage as you can, deal with the blood sacrifice, and then get her health down to 80,000. You want to get her health down to 80,000, and then you can phase. Once her health hits 80,000, she cannot heal back up above that. Do not worry. If she does another blood sacrifice and it is going to hit you, don't panic. You will not heal her. You do not have to redo the DPS. Just get the minion killed and get on to the next phase. Okay, I do apologize. Blood phase is going to take a little while, but it's absolutely going to be worth it. So that is the mechanics explained. You now understand how the basics of the fight actually is going to lay out, but this is how you are going to want to get through this as fast as possible. What you want to do is, when she starts her first siphon, you're going to want to line yourself up nicely so that you can escape or surge when she does blood sacrifice. Then you're going to want to right click underneath her and throw a vulnerability bomb just anytime while she's doing the siphon. As her wings are just about to reach the top of her head, you want to start charging your snipe ability. This will let it fire off just in time to get the first hit in as soon as her siphon ends. However, if you are not confident with this, don't worry. As soon as the siphon ends, you want to fire off needle shot, then use rapid fire, and then use needle shot again, and then use snapshot. At this point, she will start her blood sacrifice, and you want to escape out or surge out depending wherever you're facing, and make sure you do not give her that heal. Once you have done this, get back on her, use your needle shot again, followed by as many thresholds as you can. If your health is looking nice and healthy, Shadow Tendrils is absolutely awesome here as well. You want to fire off as much damage as you can, and from this point onwards, you should only really need maybe a couple of basics and a couple of thresholds, and you should phase. You will see here that I just get through, and I'm using this gear here. If you have backcriminal bolts, this will make this a hell of a lot easier, and this is the best way to do it. A lot of people say you should onslaught, and you can use onslaught, but I highly recommend just not wasting your health, using this rotation. You'll be absolutely fine. As you can see, I got this done with Shadow Glaives, no perks. I am not using Reckless, I am just using Sharpshooter Aura, and it was absolutely fine. So if you have access to backcriminal bolts, you will not have a problem. Once you get this rotation down, you'll be absolutely fine. Of course, if you're using the Weave and Crossbow, you won't be able to use Needle Shot, so to switch that up with Dazing Shot, not a problem. However, that is going to be the end of blood phase. Hopefully you guys can get that down. If you have any questions about it, like I said, comments, Discord, hit me up, not a problem. I will help as much as I can. Alright, so next is the ice phase. This is another one that could get you killed quite easily, but once you figure out the timing on using your anticipate and your freedom, it kind of becomes easy to deal with. Okay, so during this phase, there is only 2 mechanics that you need to worry about. Depending when you phase into the ice phase, she will start with different abilities. If you attack her after she has just used a siphon, then she is going to use the ice prison first. If you attack her when she has just used a blood sacrifice, then she will use contain this first. The ice prison is by far the most deadly mechanic in this phase, but again, it's not anything too difficult to deal with. You'll be absolutely fine, so don't panic really about phasing just yet. Eventually, you can start trying to time it and make your life a bit easier, but while you're learning, just phase it and deal with them as they come. Okay, so let's say you phased and she's just used a siphon. She's going to start the fight with a ice prison. Now, what is going to happen is as soon as she starts into the phase, she will say, "Die now in a prison of ice." When she says this, that indicates that she is going to put you in an ice prison, which you cannot get out of. And after a few seconds, you will take around about 8,000 damage. Now, that sounds like a lot, but there is a few ways to deal with this. I told you to bring along a vitality potion, so this will make it a hell of a lot easier. Keep your health high during the ice phase. It will just mean that you don't have to panic eat when you do get to this point, but you have rocktails, so they are there if you do need them. Once you get put in the ice prison, you're going to want to use freedom. As soon as you freedom, put on your shield and use resonance. The next thing you're going to want to do is drink your vitality potion. If your health is low, eat some food and then drink it. Don't panic, you do have a little bit of time before you take this damage. The reason you use freedom is because you will be stunned and you will not be able to do anything while you're inside the prison. So if you use freedom, you will not be stunned. You can put your shield on and you can use resonance. The reason you use resonance is because she will fire off a magic attack at the same time that the prison will deal the damage to you. So this can one hit you, but if you have resonance active, then it will heal you instead if it doesn't splash. The reason that we use the vitality potion is just a really easy way to double your health up and make sure you can't die from this prison. You can't die from the magic hit. It is a really, really good fail-safe thing to do. And to be honest, you should just use it anyway. They are really, really cheap and it makes your life a lot easier. After a short while, she will say above her head, "Contain this." And once you see this or hear it if you have sounds on, you want to just stay away from next. She will put icicles around her feet where she smacks her hand into the ground. And if you are close to her, then they will stun you and do a lot of damage. However, she also fires out a little crystal that will go in a straight line towards where your character is, and it will do damage to you. You can pretty much just ignore this, but if you go around a corner, then it will not follow you. In my opinion, the best way to deal with a contain this is just surge in a direction towards the next minion and just basically go back to DPSing. As long as that first bit doesn't hit you and you don't get stunned, the icicle that does come and get you really doesn't do that much damage. You can pretty much just ignore it, maybe have one sip of a brew, you'll be absolutely fine. Get the DPS done down as fast as you can and then kill the minion off. However, if you do not do enough DPS, she will do another ice prism. Don't panic. What you want to do is, about 2 attacks after she has done the contain, you want to use anticipate. Once you have used anticipate, you will not get stunned when you enter the prison. Your freedom will be on cooldown, so make sure you anticipate. This time, however, you will also probably not have access to your vitality potion as well. All you want to do is shield on, eat up high, use resonance, and then as soon as you take the hits, just chuck your magic prayer back on, eat some more food, you'll be absolutely fine, I promise you. Kill off Glacies, the last minion, and then start attacking next again to phase her into the Zaros phase. Okay, Zaros phase, the last phase, the easiest phase. We are finally here. You'll be absolutely fine. As long as you have a few pieces of food, do not panic. You will get a kill at this point. All you want to do here is basically phase her into the Zaros phase from the ice phase and then build your way up to 100% adrenaline. You're going to want to use Dead Shot on her. There is no point in using Death Swift here as she has a damage cap, so Death Swift kind of just becomes irrelevant to use. All you want to do is build to 100% adrenaline. If you have Ring of Vigor, chuck it on, use Dead Shot, and then go back to your Ring of Death. And then that's it. Just focus on DPS, use your Needle Shot as much as you can, use your Vulnerability Bomb, and just DPS her down. You may notice throughout this phase that she changes her Protection Prayer to Soul Split, and then back to maybe Protect from Magic or Protect from Melee. Don't worry, she cannot use Protect from range if you reset the kill every single time. There are no other mechanics during this. She will always chase you to melee range, so you'll be taking melee hits and magic hits. Make sure to just keep Protect from Magic on because those magic hits can hit harder than no melee hits can. Do all your pro DPS moves like walking your bleeds, using your adrenaline potion, making sure your vulnerability bomb is on her, and you will get through this nice and easy. Once you have killed her off, she will sort of break into some blobs that will go along the floor, and you want to just get out of the area where those are, otherwise you'll take a little bit of damage. Don't panic though, you won't die from these. Just surge or escape out of them, you'll be absolutely fine. Congratulations, you have finished the Zaros phase, you have finished next, and you've got yourself a kill. Okay, there's a lot in this video. I understand that there's a hell of a lot, but I wanted to go into depth and I wanted to make sure you guys had an understanding of how everything worked. I hope that it has helped you out. I hope that you make a lot of money at Next. And I really, really hope that after all this, I have helped you understand how the mechanics at Next works. If you have enjoyed the video, if you have managed to get a kill, do leave a like, leave a comment, let me know your kill times if you did get a kill, leave a comment with any questions, absolutely any whatsoever. There's a link to my Discord in the description, join that. I will be streaming on Twitch sometimes, there's a link there as well. Ask me questions anytime, it really doesn't bother me. I enjoy helping you all out, so do ask me the questions if you have any. Again, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like on it, make sure to subscribe if you are new, and that is all I have for you in this video. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it. And I will see you all in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye.